Hey guys, welcome back to Primer Podcast. We are back, third week of Storytellers, and we are here with Phil, and we're so excited to have you with us again. It's been a little while since you and I have done this.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Pete set me up. Brought the rock stars in first, and the warm-up band's coming in this week.
No, not at all. So we're excited that you're here with us. And so what I know it's your message was about um the two sons and God's well, tell us a little more.
Yeah. Well, I love this story. It's probably well, I don't want to say it's my favorite, but it's certainly in the top five. Um, it's typically been called the story of the prodigal son,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay. But I think a more accurate um, title for it would be the prodigal father.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, I think the meaning of the word prodigal is probably different from what a lot of people imagine. It actually means extravagant spending.
Mm,
Um, kind of a reckless approach to whatever it is you have to spend, and so the father is just so over the top gracious and so forgiving and so accepting of both of his sons,
mm-hmm.
and so I think the emphasis is better placed on the father.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never thought about the word prodigal. To be honest, like I was assuming that it's in a negative way.
Right.
And so because of that, but like as you explained it, like it makes sense because I have viewed um, the more I follow Jesus as God being this extravagant um, giver and
Right.
lover, and
Right.
it's just it doesn't make sense,
Exactly.
and so but the word prodigal, I always thought I only put it with the son.
Right. Well, my family especially, but friends as well. I love to talk about God's love. You
Mm-hmm.
you know that,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I get accused of embellishing the truth. Like Lucy, my wife's never said you told a lie, but she has accused me of kind of taking the truth and stretching it,
Yeah,
making it
we tend to
bigger
do
than.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why I love talking about God's love, because you you can't exaggerate it. You can't make it seem bigger than it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so extravagant.
Mm-hmm. So I will admit, like in probably before I came to St. Mark's and before I had those that were in my life, like you and Bob and Pete and gosh, so many others, Jarm, and part of our small groups and stuff that have encouraged a deeper relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
Like my view of God has changed,
Mm.
and my understanding of who God
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Um, so His love, I can imagine what you're expressing now.
Right.
Now, 12 years ago, I viewed I had a vision of a different God based on some false narratives that I had in my life.
Yes.
And so like, I think having people in our lives to point us to the God that that we now know, and us doing that to others,
Yeah.
and reminding those that have a false narrative of who God is.
I like the way you're saying that narrative. We have stories in our head,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd be really interested to know what What were some of those narratives that played in your head earlier in life?
Mm. Well, I've shared this multiple times is that we really didn't talk about Jesus, God, and especially if we did, it was almost like a distant God,
Yeah.
and so some a being that had um, no want in my
Mm,
to be around me, to be in my presence. And so I had this view of God that was only going to come around if I did something wrong, or maybe I could pray if I needed to get out of some trouble, or but no personal relationship with Christ. And so um, it to me, God was very very far away,
mm.
and and
Was that okay with you? Or did you
I didn't
want
know
God to
any.
be
I didn't
far away?
know. I mean, I don't think I really thought about it, to be
Yeah,
honest. I
yeah.
mean, I think now looking back, I think how much I missed out in that relationship. But now I feel so fortunate to have a relationship with Christ. And but I don't think I knew what I didn't know.
Yeah. How isn't it fascinating, as you look back on your life, how your view of God shapes your view of other
Mm,
things?
mm-hmm,
I mean, it's hard for me to think of anything that's not, impacted. How we think about God just seems to shape how we think about other people,
mm-hmm.
the world, everything in it.
So, I mean, you've had a relationship with Christ like your whole life. And so, like, what has, because of that,
Yeah.
it's, we both have different stories, but
Yes.
my story's no better and your story's no better than mine. So, but what have you seen change? Because
In my
I feel like mine has a very, like, I always tell people it's almost black and white and then in color.
Hmm.
And so, what's the, like, what have you seen?
Yeah, I I've seen a lot of change. I grew up with an image of a God who was disappointed
Mm,
with me, um, a God that, somehow or another, if that was ever gonna change, I was gonna have to give God a reason to feel differently
mm,
about me. Um, and so I really gave a lot of effort, um, like the older son in the
mm,
story, because I felt like, um, in a way, I was in control, which is way too much influence, and power for a person to have. I can't change how God thinks about anything.
yeah.
And yet that was kind of the idea that I had. And now, it's just totally on the other end of the spectrum. I'm fully convinced that there's nothing I could do that would ever cause God to love me any more or any
Mhm.
less.
Yeah. I've thought about my relationship with God and how different it looks now.
Yeah,
And I, like, I've talked about the difference in between believing and then following.
yeah,
Um but like you talked about the extravagance of God. And when you think about um the prodigal son story, the parable, it talks about, like, the father puts a ring on his, I mean, he went
yeah.
overboard.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, like, the I think I've skipped over that part a little bit when I view, like, I have viewed myself as the son that was away and um, you know, did things that was, took myself a little further and for, like, just further and further away from God. But yet immediately he welcomed me back into his arms, and not only in an embrace,
Right.
but he continues to lavish me
Yeah.
in in rings and clean clothing, and like it's like
Right.
what that father did to that for that son. And and the son had no idea that it was like he was going to be okay with the scraps, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was going to be okay with what the servants were, how the servants were treated. He never thought that the father would treat him again
How
as the
could he
son.
have imagined that he would be received the way he was?
Yeah.
It's just outrageous, really.
Yeah. So so how so I've thought about this, and sometimes like how sometimes we can feel like we are not worthy of God's love,
Right.
and that and we're not,
Exactly.
but like how can we get past that feeling?
Yeah.
And
I think it all goes back to what we believe about God. Uh, God doesn't love us because of what he sees in us
mm,
that's deserving of love. It's about what is within him. God is love. And he doesn't love us because we are deserving. None of us
mhm,
could ever be. It's it's not that kind of love.
mm,
And so it puts God's love in a category um, all by itself.
mhm.
Um,
It's that the unconditional love.
yeah,
There's no I'll love you if.
none
Mhm,
whatsoever. And that is just so difficult for us
mhm.
to wrap our minds around. It's
Right.
not rational.
Mhm. Yeah, because I mean, the world does not love that way. And so even though even though we try not to be a part of the world, it is always around us.
And I think so. I wonder what you think about this. We live so much in our heads.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing now. We're talking about
Mhm.
what we believe. Um, and I think one of the things that's changed for me is only the person who's experienced God's love really knows what it is.
Mhm.
But once you've experienced it, nothing else in the world is comparable.
Right. No, yeah. Yeah, it makes everything in the world feel, um, inadequate, I
Right.
guess, is the thought of there's nothing that can compare. So I remember in times before I started following Christ is that I always, and Bob talked about this, is, having this God-shaped hole
Right.
and trying to fit things
Yep.
in it.
Yep.
But until you find that relationship with Christ, you're going to put things of the world in it, and it doesn't fit. But as soon as realized that it was a God-shaped hole that I was trying
Yeah.
to fill,
Yeah.
and and it was really other than me wanting that relationship. I had nothing else to do.
Right.
That I will say, and I know this will probably be where we end, but that is still hard for me
Yeah.
to wrap my head around,
Yeah.
is that I have nothing else to, because the world tells me that it should it should be up to us, and it's not. It's all God.
It's all God.
Yeah. Well, guys, I hope that you have a great discussion in your groups, and we'll see you next week. Bye.